Lucille Ball was powerless against Desi Arnaz's Sexual Chemistry book. Sarah Royal has written a new book on the late sitcom star, aka Lucy, the dynamic and determined life of Lucille Ball. When Lucille Ball met Desi Arnaz, she was wearing a torn gold dress and a head bandage while sporting a black eye. But it was love at first sight. They each had their own careers, they were engaged to other people, but their connection was that powerful, Sarah Royal told Fox News Digital. It's part of the reason they're so compelling as a couple because they didn't ignore the red flags. They did talk about them. They had conversations before getting married and being together, especially Lucy. Lucy was the level-headed one, and Desi was the romantic, she shared. But there was this electric hold and connection between the two of them where they were just madly in love immediately. Royal has written a new book on the late actress, aka Lucy, the dynamic and determined life of Lucille Ball. It spotlights the many facets of the TV icon's life and career. Amy Poehler, who directed the 2022 documentary Lucy and Desi, wrote the foreword. Ball died in 1989 at age 77. Something that I learned was how vulnerable she was, Royal explained about the I Love Lucy star. I think that is an incredibly human quality that we don't often imagine and think of a megastar as having, a certain degree of humility, Royal shared. But, also, just self-doubt and vulnerability to bad press, to troublesome relationships, to just struggling to find your place in the world. It was 1940 when the Queen of the Bees met the dashing Cuban performer with jet black hair and a megawatt smile. They were at the RKO Pictures commissary, and Ball had just finished filming a fight scene for Dance, Girl, Dance. Ball was hungry and didn't bother to change out of her costume. But after laying eyes on the actor, she quickly developed an appetite for something else. What surprised me about them is that they did have this hot steamy romance, this sexual chemistry, said Royal. But there was also a lot of arguing and a lot of heartache. After 2 dates, the pair broke up with their long-term partners. 6 months later, they were married. But the whirlwind romance was plagued with problems. A persistent press declared that the union was a publicity stunt for their film, Too Many Girls. Ball claimed their long-distance phone calls while they were apart cost a whopping $29,000, and the conversations mainly consisted of shouting "what" over bad connections. According to the book, they each had ferocious feelings of jealousy, convinced that the other was fooling around. Friends warned Ball that Arnaz had a trail of broken hearts behind him. There was a 6-year age difference, as well as different religions, upbringings, and languages spoken. But their romantic and sexual chemistry was described as off the charts. There's a funny story of Lucy giving an interview to somebody, said Royal. And the interviewer says something like, "When are you going to get married?" And she's like, "No, I'm just going to be a bachelor girl." And then literally, after that interview, Desi's like, "So we're going to get married." Part of it is that Lucy went against a lot of judgment in terms of her own, Royal continued. "We have to do things the smart way, and I'm going to be very calm, cool, and collected about this." But in a lot of ways, she was also just powerless against this force that was between her and Desi. She felt understood by him in a way that I think no one else did. I don't think that there ever was an actual dissolution of love between them until the day that each of them died. According to the book, Ball decided she wanted nothing more than to please Desi and take care of him, and that she would sacrifice anything to make that happen. After all the distressing back and forth about whether they should be together, she was blissfully, deliriously happy. As for Arnaz, he passionately worshipped the ground she walked on. Still, Ball was worried over Arnaz's womanizing as she sat at home wishing she was expecting their child. In 1944, she filed for divorce. Arnaz amped up his charm and asked her out for dinner on the night before the court hearing. The hearing went on, and afterward, she came right back and joined him in bed. In less than 24 hours, they negated the divorce. In 1949, they married again. But their union was quickly tested by Hollywood once more. Arnaz found himself losing film opportunities over his thick accent, and he was sometimes referred to as Mr. Ball. Being out-earned and outstarred was hurtful. Still, Ball pushed back against the studio, eager to find work for her beau so he wouldn't have to go out on tour with his band. There was a certain sense of hurt pride on Desi's part, said Royal. Lucy was always the bigger star than he was. Part of the reason they started working